Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for The Suicide Squad on HBO Max. And I'm definitely glad I saw it on HBO Max and not in theaters because I did not like this. I found certain things enjoyable, but overall I did not like this film. Now, I do think it was better than Black Widow, but that's not saying much. The issue comes into the effect of, you see that DC's like, okay, we saw some of these people that did Marvel movies. Let's see if we get them over here. And, of course, they got James Gunn, and they just let him do his thing, and this is what we get. This is definitely a typical R-rated James Gunn movie. If you've seen Slither, this is definitely what you're getting here. It's more convoluted plot shit and spectacle and gore more than anything. That I don't mind gore, and I'm not like that you shouldn't have gore or anything or whatnot, but it should have like some kind of purpose, and whether to make you laugh at the absurdity of something going on with it, or be like, sweet Jesus, I'm horrified for what's going on. And I just really didn't get much of those either out of this. I'm just like, alright, that's happening. Ugh. Alright, so let's start at the beginning. So we see pretty much Michael Rourke, Yondu's character, Yondu's actor playing Savant in this movie, pretty much sitting in a cell with Johnny Cash playing. It's like, alright, yep, pretty much, we'll see how this goes, and messing around with the ball, and kills a bird because it came in, and just like, oh, okay. So then we get Rick Flag popping in, and we pretty much get the gist of what this movie's about. Evidently, there's the country of Corto Maltese, and we see that they have like a Nazi-era kind of program thing, Project Starfish, and Task Force X, the Suicide Squad, is being tasked to go in and blow it up and stop it. It's some kind of alien thing, some kind of Nazi thing, some kind of thing. So we got Rick Flag, pretty much got Savant. We see them pretty much gathering up their people and seeing other villains make fun of other villains. We see that it's Savant, Captain Boomerang, Blackguard, TDK, Javelin, Mongal, and Harley Quinn. And Weasel. And we see the group kind of like coming together. We see them go on their kind of helicopter kind of thing as we see them trying to figure out what the fuck's up with Weasel. Blackguard's thinking it's like a werewolf or something, freaking out. And Rick Flag's like, no, he's not a werewolf, but he has killed like 27 children. And I'm like, and you're using that in the field? I don't get that rationale. I'm like, definitely keep them away from any children or any kind of scenario. We then get into them like cracking jokes about names, mainly about TDK. It's like, alright, cool. Boomerang and Harley Quinn having a kind of like, at least trying to show some kind of thing going on. Relationship-wise was interesting, but I'm like, alright, cool. Not that they were like together or anything, but like trying some continuity from the other movie. But the thing is, this movie apes some shit from that movie, and it's just like, alright, not full-on force, mind you, but enough to be like, what the fuck? It's almost like, hey, here's my homework. You can copy it, but just change it enough to make it look like you didn't just completely copy it. I'm like, alright. So, they get to pretty much their drop-off point, and then we start seeing what's kind of going on. We had, of course, had the rundown of the bombs in their necks and everything like that that'll blow their brains up. But we see that Waller's people were pretty much taking bets on who would die and everything. And they pretty much drop in, and we see that Weasel kind of freaks out and pretty much dies of drowning. Rick's like, did anybody check that Weasel could swim? And it just shows the stupidity of this kind of operation if nobody checked on that. And I'm like, these are villains that could seriously kill people. And you don't know if they can swim or not, because that would come in handy if you needed to dispatch them. Now granted, the bomb I get, but if you're unable to send the signal or it's not received, you would think that would come in handy. So that starts the train off like, okay, this is not a very good kind of operation to be going on. And we see that they're like down, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and the military is on point. See, the thing is, they had to go in here because the ruling family, which was not antagonistic to the U.S., was deposed in a military coup, pretty much by two cardboard cutout people that barely have anything other than to be plot obstacles and plot things, being like, hey, I'm here. One of them's like El Presidente, one's a general who then becomes El Presidente later on, as I'll get into. But Blackguard's like, hey, I contacted you guys. How's it going? Gets shot in the face. It's like, okay, so this is pretty much the kill porn level right here, as we see everybody get pretty much taken out. Javelin gets taken out. Savant's like, I ain't about this shit. Tries to go away. Head blows up. We see a bird similar to the one that he fucking tanked later on. Eat his shit's like, okay. Is that supposed to be funny or revenge or some kind of poignant thing? Because I didn't get nothing from that. I'm like, yeah. And we see that Harley and Flag are pretty much the only ones that survive. Mongal tried to take out a helicopter by just swinging from it, which then got a lot of shrapnel and shit. Boomerang got like fucked up and then killed, and she got pretty much set on fire. Javelin got like taken out, and for some reason bequeathed his javelin to Harley to keep it for some reason. The detachable TDK, the detachable kid, is a dude who can like detach his arms, and he detaches his arms. They float fucking slowly to the enemy, and all it does is like slap and muck up with it, and they just shoot his arms. He's like, oh shit, and then pretty much dies because of blood loss and shit. There's sending in cannon fodder, and then there's just sending in. There's just like a kind of like sadomasochistic thing of like, yeah, we're gonna let this dude into a situation where he's pretty much gonna die. This is fun. It's like, all right, not really endearing myself that this is an organization that knows what to fucking do, but we see that evidently they were Rick Flag's able to escape, but Harley Quinn gets captured. That they were a distraction, as we see that Bloodsport is the one that is leading the other team. And we then go back, because they'd like to do that a fucking lot in this movie. Go, like, do flashbacks to, like, other parts and everything to explain shit. I would not be surprised if you were confused if this was the same character that Will Smith played in the previous Suicide Squad movie. Now, that was Deadshot. This is Bloodsport. But the thing is, they have very similar shit going on. I.e., they're both expert kind of marksmen. Bloodsport evidently has weird techno gadgets that he can fucking, like, make guns and shit with. And a helmet. And that's about it. Making him more kind of similar to Deathstroke in the DC universe. But it's like, alright. He also is in prison because he shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet and put Superman in the ICU. Why is that similar? Because Deadshot shit in the other Suicide Squad movie was related to Batman capturing his ass. And, they also have daughter issues as well. Now, granted, Deadshot's daughter is just trying to get through school and stuff like that, whereas Bloodsport's daughter, for some reason, is stealing things. Why do I say for some reason? Because this movie is impossibly packed with a fuck ton of people and doing a fuck ton of different kind of things, so of course we never really get why she kind of stole a watch that she couldn't watch TV on. And Bloodsport's pretty much like, hey, listen, I'm no good. I was trained as a killer by my dad, pretty much, as we get that kind of exposition kind of like in the background. Stay away from me. I'm no good. And she evidently needs help because she's going to court for prison, pretty much. I'm like, she's 14 years old? But evidently Waller's got enough pull to pretty much put her in the same prison that he's at, which we see that he pretty much just cleans stuff up and people give him shit for whatever fucking reason. Honestly, I do not know. I understand putting like a lot of supervillains together, they'd start getting shit on each other, but it's like, alright, but this is why we then get him here, because Waller thinks she can make him into a leader, and he is now leading his own team to take out Project Starfish, and his team consists of Peacemaker, King Shark, Polka Dot Man, and Ratcatcher 2. Why is it Ratcatcher 2? Because evidently Ratcatcher 1 is played by Taika Waititi, and he directed Thor Ragnarok and stuff like that. I'm just like, why is he here? I mean, granted, you could literally use an unnamed actor to do this kind of bit part and let them do something, but it's like, oh, let's just cameo Taika Waititi. It's like, alright. Because we get her kind of backstory more, and it's just like trying to connect with Bloodsport to be a good dad and all that shit, and it's just like, alright. So they're like, alright, there's nothing going on, let's kind of make our way. Their objective is to get the Thinker dude, which is the dude that's been like dealing with everything with the Project Starfish, and they're pretty much trying to figure. We then pretty much get the exposition dump from that it's Starro the Conqueror, which is an alien starfish that can poop out smaller starfish and then control people like that. Because we saw on the space station, the Americans had found it and were fucking around with it, and then of course people got and evidently pretty much become a corpse after that, which we find out later in the movie. And they've been using it on pretty much political dissidents in this country, and the new regime is going to do the same thing, and the general wants to use it against the rest of the world, even though it looks like if you would unleash this monster, it would take over the entire world. So there's no, like, if you used it once, everybody is fucked. But they're plot obstacles, and they have to do as the plot demands, because we are doing spectacle and set pieces, and that is the more important shit, my dude. So we're pretty much trying to figure out what's going on with this group. They try and make sure that King Shark, who is played by Sylvester Stallone, which you wouldn't know it if you weren't, like, if you didn't see it at the end credits, like, oh shit. It's like, right, he is evidently like a demigod, son of like a shark god, and is stupid, but he's not like an asshole. He's like trying to read, trying to do some stuff, but he's like trying to figure out people he can hit, people he can't. He tries to eat Ratcatcher too, but they kind of like figure out the stuff on that, and she's like, hey, you want to eat your friends? What do you know? And then she's like friendly with them. And of course we find out that Bloodsport is freaked out by rats because his dad pretty much had put him in a box for 24 hours with hungry, starving rats. And the thing is that Ratcatcher's pretty much good with him and tried to be like, hey, stop that shit. Alright. For the King Shark. And we see that she's got like a lead rat, Sebastian, who's alright, and be like, hey, yeah, I'm cool. And Peacemaker is just a dick, played by John Cena. Like, I really would have liked them to be able to dive deeper into these characters, but there's just too much shit going on, and so they had to keep the plot as simplistic as possible while convoluted as possible, because we gotta add twists and shit. It's just fucking nutty as hell. It's like, alright, fine, because Peacemaker, he falls within the role of like, more of kind of like Homelander, where he's like, I will get peace whatever possible, no matter how many people I gotta kill. It's like, alright. Now that's an interesting kind of character to delve into, but we don't have the time, we don't have the inclination, we seriously just want to like do weird shit. So instead of going for the Thinker first, they are redirected to Flag, and we see them pretty much have a killing big dick swinging contest as they're just taking out this camp of people, which is done in the most stupendous fucking way possible, because there's certain points where these people would have been like, they would have fucking seen you, they heard you, they were that close, like, here is one of the killed people. What? Oh shit, you would have thought that kind of would have happened, and shit would have been like set off, and alarms would have been going on, but it's like, alright. And Polka Dot Man kind of gets his powers shown off here as well, and how he kind of like shoots the polka dots out to, like, destroy some shit. And we find out, of course, it's an interdimensional virus because his mother was experimenting and trying to make superpowered beings, and that he sees everybody as his mother and tries to kill his mother. And the thing is, I don't mind that, but it's a gag taken way too fucking far, pretty much to the point of, like, South Park beating a joke to death, where it's like, fine, whatever, because it keeps going on, even towards the end of the movie, where we see pretty much him looking at Starro and being like, that's my mother, and pretty much destroys one of her legs. And just like, fine, do it. So, they then get to flag, but we find out that this was a group of freedom fighters trying to fight for democracy on Corto Maltese, and that all of her people were killed. And she's not very pissed off about it. I mean, she's a little bit, but she still works with these people. I'm like, I understand the enemy of my enemy, but not enough time is devoted to make that kind of transition happen. It's more like, alright, they gotta get into Corto Maltese and get the Thinker to get into Jotunheim. Yes, they called the Project Starfish place Jotunheim. And destroy it and destroy any of this stuff going on with it. Well, Harley Quinn then has her own little side quest where she pretty much is wooed by the El Presidente. They bang and shit and think about all the cool kind of shit they would be doing. But the El Presidente's dude like, yeah, we use that starfish to be like, fuck over dissidents and people that are like against me and shit. And Harley just shoots them because there were guns. And she's like, I'm surprised that was on it. And she's like, yeah, I'd look for red flags and shit like that. And I wasn't going to let another red flag kind of work on that. General fucking hears go into this, tries to torture her, and then get any information out of her. And of course, you can't because Harley Quinn doesn't give a fuck and is kind of crazy, but more doesn't give a fuck and is able to get out and have her own kind of action sequence, which, by the way, I do give the positive acknowledgement that the action sequences in this movie, more times than not, are very clear and very defined and really showcase the characters doing their own badass shit. Like Peacemaker and Bloodsport, awesome, cool. Except for like the unbelievability of nobody fucking seeing what was going on because of how it kind of was rammed together. Harley Quinn's stuff that she does in here is pretty good, though she gets the javelin and is like doing. I don't mind it. It's just like made more of importance. I'm like, okay, yeah, just show her doing javelin shit. Now, granted, that doesn't completely dovetail yet to what they're kind of doing, but well, it kind of does, because she gets out, they have to go and try and get Harley, and they got this whole plan and everything, but she's like, oh yeah, you guys are coming to get me? And the Flag was like, yeah, it was a really good plan too. And it's like the shit you saw from the trailer. It's like, oh, I could go back in and you can do it. It's like, no, let's go. So then they kind of like wait around, and they go to this bar and drink and everything. We get backstory of, like, of course, the rat stuff with Bloodsport and Ratcatcher talking about how her papa had vices and stuff like that, but was really tried to be the best dad to her and everything, and that she loved her dad, and that she felt sorry that Bloodsport couldn't have that kind of feeling with his dad. And they're like, yeah, we'll get each other out of this alive. It's like, okay, cool. And they just kind of fuck around in the bar until the Thinker pops up, like, hey, dude, we're going to take you. But of course, the military pops in, of course, looking for the Americans. So Bloodsport, Rick Flag, and Peacemaker give themselves up. They do a stupid kind of little car thing. And then they're able to get out, and they kind of link up with everything. And we get the scene where they're trying to figure out what's going on with the Thinker and trying to get into Jotunheim. Oh, another thing as well. With King Shark, I know this sounds kind of weird and nitpicky, but it kind of needs to be dealt with of how King Shark works, because he ate a whole ass fucking dude whole. And it's like, alright, if that's his whole kind of thing, being hungry and stuff like that, he must, like, he'd have to go to the bathroom all the time. It's kind of like the Captain America thing. I saw this Reddit thread of, like, either Cap has to take one giant dump or a lot of dumps all the time because of his metabolism. I understand that. It's just like, okay, this... It doesn't become a problem until they have to factor in his weight in certain things, because, yeah, he's a big dude, he's kind of their Hulk thing, but if he essentially eats a whole person that's, like, anywhere between 160 to 200 pounds, that's going to affect his maneuverability and everything like that. It's just like, all right, fine, whatever. He can eat a whole dude because that was back in the whole thing going on. And it's like, all right, fine, whatever. Because he, of course, is always angling of, like, eating people or whatnot. So they're able to get into the base surprisingly easily and then kind of close a door. And one of the people's like, bring a battering ram. And I'm like, it's this, like, thick-ass fucking metal door that interlocked. And I'm like, a battering ram ain't going to do that. And then, of course, they try to use a Humvee to kind of battering ram it. So their idea is to figure out whatever the fuck's in there, line explosives all the way up and everything, and get out. All right, let's do this. So they pretty much take the Thinker down. It's mainly Flag, Ratcatcher, Peacemaker, and Thinker. So they kind of go down there. They get more shit with what's going on with Starro, and that they've got like shitty ass experiments, and that of course a lot of it was brought up with the American government, that he was pretty much employed there to kind of like study it and everything because they didn't want to do it on American soil. And it's just, I get that kind of tact of like the military doing like dirty shit and everything like that and all that. It's just so simplistic and pulled up as like this great kind of like twist reveal, and it's just, alright, I understand that, but they give it just like no depth. It's like, yeah, here's the reveal. I'm like, alright, I get that. So evidently they're here to pretty much destroy Starro and destroy the government evidence, and Rick Fly's like, nope, I'm not going to be a puppet, tries to take it. So of course Peacemaker's like, hey, I don't want to kill a hero like you, but I fucking will, because he's got orders from Waller. And then suddenly, for some reason, the explosives go off early. Starro gets released, rips the Thinker dude apart. Ratcatcher 2 is like going around pretty much trying to stay alive. We get this weird kind of fight scene. I say weird because at first it's like, okay, them fighting, and then for some reason there's weird grain shit around as we see kind of Starro people kind of just like in the background. But Rick Flag gets killed by Peacemaker, and it's like, damn. I do like that he saw dirty shit and was going to reveal it and be like, this isn't right, this is bullshit, these are people, these are kids, this shouldn't be fucking done, and he at least stuck to his guns at the end and was like, fuck you, man. Ratcatcher 2 is able to take it, and then of course we get that kind of change around. We then go back in time a little bit, see why it exploded, and we see that King Shark finds these like weird little things. Hey, they're friends. Why? Because it's just an action set piece, and because for some reason there's an aquarium with these weird fucking things, so that way we got things that like bite him. I don't know why the fuck this thing was in this movie. But we see that they're trying to do stuff. Milton, the weird random dude, gets killed because that's a throwaway joke line between Polka Dot Man and Harley. They take out one dude, but the thing is the bag of explosives were scattered, but some people came at him. Polka Dot Man was not thinking and unleashed his polka dots, and he has to expel those or else he'll die and shit'll get crazy. And the thing is, Harley tried to stop him, but he accidentally set those off. That blew up. Everything's all going crazy and all that. King Shark gets pretty much jacked out, but saved from being eaten by the weird little jellyfish fuckers. Harley and Polka Dot Man survive long enough. She's got her javelin. Bloodsport does as well and gets dropped down pretty much to the point where Peacemaker caught up with Ratcatcher 2, and they had a thing where they were talking about like bullets and using smaller bullets to like bullseye a bullseye. So Peacemaker shoots at Bloodsport. Bloodsport shoots a smaller bullet through his bullet that goes through, hits him in the neck, and you think he's dead, but he's not, because there's an end credit scene where he's alive and Weasel's alive. And the thing is, Weasel like walks off on the Corto Maltese because of fucking reasons. And Peacemaker is under Waller's kind of protection and shit. While this is also going on, the Freedom Fighter lady is also going after the palace because General Dude's like, this shit's going on at Project Starfish. Holy fuck balls, Batman. Continue. Where are we going with this? So Starro blots out. It's like, holy fucking fuck balls. starts going around splooging out fucking starfish to pretty much take over Corto Maltese. Like, this city's mine, and is pretty much gonna let the surviving members of the Suicide Squad go. Waller's like, all right, guys, you got the information and everything. Why don't you leave? Bloodsport's like, he makes the walk up and is like, fuck this, I'm gonna save these people. The rest of the Suicide Squad does it. Waller is pissed off, yelling at him, getting ready to pretty much hit the button to blow them up, but then someone on the other team smacks her ass in. It's like, alright, give him the intel, we gotta stop this thing. Because it's a fucking kaiju ass motherfucker that probably would have continued spreading throughout the world, or some people would have come at it, pissed it off, and it would continue spreading because it would conceive everything else as a threat. Because we learn as it's dying, it's like, I really liked floating among the stars and everything like that. And then people started fucking with it, and it's like, you guys are fucking with me, leave me the fuck alone. And I don't mind that tact with a monster, it's just, it needs to be better executed and better well done. It's just like, alright, cool. I feel for it, because they're getting fucked up and everything, but they're able to do what they're doing. I mean, of course, see Starro getting fucked up a little bit. Polka Dot Man's like, I'm a superhero! And then, of course, on cue, gets killed. It's like, alright, whatever. And the main way Starro is beaten is that Ratcatcher 2 is able to summon an inordinate amount of rats that I don't think an island nation should be able to contain. Now, granted, I think a good amount of rats. Yes, but it's just like, alright, they pretty much defeat Starro by having rats devour him and kill him. While Harley Quinn runs at it with a javelin, jabs it in the eye, the rats are able to swim in and eat more and kill it. It's like, oh shit. So it's dead. Bloodsport then uses the information they had to be like, hey, I got it offloaded. You let us go or I leak the shit. And he's like, yeah, I know what Rick would have done, but he's using it to get out and pretty much leverage it to make sure that his daughter stays out of prison and everything works out. So Corto Maltese is freed as a democracy, even though an insane amount of weird shit's gone on and nobody's truly reacting to it. I know that if anywhere near me got like fucked up by some weird starfish thing and made them into zombie fucking crazy things, and that the people that I was working with to kind of like free my people had been killed, even just accidentally, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. So they kind of get their own ride out, and then of course that's where the other end credit scenes come in, and it's like, alright, whatever. So the survivors mainly are Harley, Bloodsport, Ratcatcher 2, and King Shark. Let me see. Yeah. I was just so dumbfounded by this movie. Mainly because it was all style and no substance really whatsoever. I mean, I would laugh at certain things and things going on, but it was just... I don't need the most engaging of plots. I mean, shit, if you boil it down, I mean, Lord of the Rings is people walking to a mountain to throw a fucking ring in it. But it's how you execute it and how you do it. Which is interesting because Lord of the Rings was able to kind of do that, and then The Hobbit stretched that shit out and tried to add some shit that's like, alright. Here, it's just packed to the brim with characters that you can't latch onto, and they can't develop because there's not enough time to do it. Even in a 2-hour movie, it's like... And never mind the fact that I would not blame you for being confused to be like, oh, okay, there's some world-ending threat, and they send the Suicide Squad out to do it. And granted, here, it was not billed as a world-ending threat at the beginning, so the Justice League not popping up for most of the time would make sense. But when that motherfucking starfish pops out kaiju style, wouldn't you think, Superman and the rest of them should have really kind of like popped up at that and maybe gave support to the Suicide Squad to like stop this thing? I don't know. I just think they decided, hey, James Gunn, you make good movies. Make this movie like you'd make your movies. And the thing is, I can somewhat accept the B-rated campiness of what went on with Slither because I have my expectations set with that. With this, you're trying to bill it as like this giant kind of comic book movie that, okay, yeah, I can understand some stupidity and shit going on, but it's just like, you don't have really anything to like sink your teeth into to really get invested. It's like, alright? And it almost goes to show that you really need somebody at the helm vision-wise to kind of keep things in check. Because even, I like the James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But I think they turned out the best way that they did because there was enough, like, he was given the freedom to kind of do his stuff, but he was also reined in on certain things because I'm like, alright, this one's a nutty-ass one. And the thing is, you can't expect an R-rated movie like this to do as well as like a PG-13 movie because your audience is going to be smaller. So yeah, you can go ham with certain things, but like if a kid saw this movie, it'd be like, I'd be like, well, granted, I was a different kind of kid, but if I did not understand the concept of killing and like gore and seeing like human faces explode, I would be freaking my fucking balls off. I mean, shit. Like the movie Event Horizon freaks my ass out. I'm like, woo! And granted, when I was smaller, I saw this movie, The Leviathan, and like transforming into a fucking fish monster and all the shit going on with that. That was kind of crazy and dealt with that kind of body horror, and I'm like, whoa, god damn! This, with just the like insanity of these horrible people doing these horrible things. And granted, you're like Bloodsport and Ratcatcher and King Shark and like his Suicide Squad were not the worst of the worst. But it's like, okay, they're doing some nasty ass shit, and you gotta kind of like understand what you're trying to do with that, because otherwise it's like, hey, look, they're just killing people, and how are you supposed to take that? It's like, all right, they accidentally killed all these people. Are they supposed to feel bad about that? Are they supposed to feel good about that? I don't know. It's just like, hey, here's a body count motherfucking movie. How you doing? And I don't mind those movies. It's just the expectation set of like, now granted, I did not expect this to be fucking amazeballs, deep thinking critical movie, okay? Okay? I don't expect like fucking filet mignon from a burger, alright? I'm not doing that, but I expect a plot that makes better sense, that is not the plot demanding that all these action set pieces happen because they want them to happen, because this looked more like somebody took a kid, gave him some toys, and then had him and then recorded him to understand how he was going through and playing with those toys, and then made a movie out of it. Now that doesn't sound bad all the time, but I know as a kid, I have some weird shit going on that would be plot demanding that this thing happen, and that's not good writing, and that's not a good movie. Oh, I wanted to like this. I really did. But I don't. And if you enjoyed it, I do not want to take that from you. I never do. And this shouldn't... I'm not trying to come off as a Marvel fanboy, alright? I do prefer Marvel over DC. But guess what? Black Widow is still the worst movie than this. But there's still severe problems here, and it's just... I almost wanted them to go complete joke movie. And I think that's kind of where it comes down to and kind of messes with me. And that, again, you get tonal consistencies of a lot of shit is handled as a joke. So I don't know what to take seriously whatsoever when they're trying to make things serious. It's like, alright, cool. And that is a hard thing to balance. I acknowledge that. It is the hallmark of good writers to be able to balance that shit out, and good directors to be able to present that and execute on that shit. Full there. Understand. It just did not work here for me, man. So, we'll see how the rest of it goes. Man. Yep. That was that movie. So, those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.